Hello everyone. It is Jackie with Pocket of Preschool and I'm super duper excited you're here with me tonight. So tonight we are talking all about the library center in your classroom. So in my classroom, the library center is writing, literacy, all things literacy, and then reading, kind of all lumped into one big happy fun center. So in the comments, will you tell me how you do your literacy center in your classroom? Do you have it as library, as one big center? Do you do writing and reading and then maybe like a word work center separate? How do you do it in your classroom? I just love hearing what other people do in their classrooms too. So here is my library center. So it's my library center is kind of an L. So I have this wall over here that has my bookshelf, and then I have my writing table. And then it kind of keeps going over here, which is where I keep all of my literacy, manipulatives, and games. And then I kind of have a retelling board. And I'm going to zoom back a little bit closer because, ignore that table because I'm going to use that to talk with you guys later in a minute. And then, so my library center kind of is an L, and it goes around my circle area. So my circle area is right here. And then it goes right into my library center. So all of these games and manipulatives, they kind of just play on the floor right here. And this is not normally there at all. That's actually my sensory table, and this is some stuff I want to show you guys tonight. So let me show you around. So right here, I have my bookshelf. And my bookshelf, and we do 2-week themes in my classroom. And the topper for the books are our class books that we make, and I will be having the third day of school tomorrow, so we don't have many class books yet. Those are actually, the other two are more books that we make in our classroom, and then this one will be our first class book we do this year. It's just an All About Us book and my All About Me pack, and my page is in there, but the kiddos are still turning those in. So our class books will go down there. And then the book hospital is right here, and I haven't fixed some of the books from last year yet. But that's okay. It's 'tis life, right? And then I have above the bookshelf a visual, and this is in my TBT store. And it's just a visual on how we take care of our books. So clean hands, find a good spot, turn the pages carefully, look at the pictures and the words, put supplies away from books, like no glue next to the books, hopefully, and then just put them away. And then I actually changed this week. Next to my bookshelf with our themed books, I have kind of like our favorite book basket right here, and then underneath are reading buddies, and a lot of these are from those Kohl's, Rainbow Fish, Pinkalicious, Clifford's in there. Above it, I have a book box, and these all have black dots on them. And in my preschool room, books either go on our shelf or they go on our favorites basket. And all the favorite books have black dots. So all the ones that kiddos love and they want to read over and over. And after we're done with a theme, if there's a book that they love a lot, we will add it to this book basket so that way they can keep reading it over and over and over all year. Morgan says, do I have separate books that I use for Circle? So yeah, I will read books sometimes for Circle, and then I put them on the bookshelf. But otherwise, I'll make to use as they want. And then I have my writing table and the little stools, which there's another one right here, but I'm going to use it in a minute to sit on to talk to you guys. I have little stools are from IKEA, and then this is a small lack table from IKEA. It's actually a small coffee table, but it's perfect for the library center. And then I just have a black pocket chart, and then I just put a border around it. Oops. Oh yeah, there we go. I just put some borders around it to kind of frame it out to make it look more inviting. And then I have word cards, and I usually have them based on our theme. This is my family word cards pack. And these, when you sign up for my newsletter, you get these as a freebie when you sign up. So just go to my blog, www.pocketofpreschool.com, sign up for my newsletter, and these will come to your email to you. They also come with these event word cards, so that way the kiddos, they want well cards, when somebody's sick or I'm sorry. So these event cards and the family word cards I keep in my center all year long, just on these book rings, and they do have my word cards in uppercase, and I do, since I'm teaching 3-year-olds and some of my 4-year-olds yelling at me about my internet connection. Sorry, I can't zoom up because it's yelling at me about my internet connection. But the word cards I always have out lowercase set and an uppercase set. That way for my lowercase I use with my pre-K kiddos more, and the uppercase ones I use with my 3-year-olds more. And then I always have these, I have our, it doesn't like that spot over there. I have our class word cards with all of our friends' names, and on the front I have uppercase, and then so CJ is uppercase in both ways. And then on the back I have uppercase on one side, lowercase on the other. That way I can differentiate for different learners. And these word cards are free in my TBT store. So go ahead and hop over to my TBT store after this and download them, and then you can make a class set for you. And I actually have I think we made 5 sets. So I keep one in the library center, I keep one at Circle, I keep one to use for small group, I use one with journal time, and then I have another set just because in case anybody gets lost. So yeah. And then at my writing table, I just use these little buckets from Target or the dollar store, and I put different writing materials in them. I have envelopes, some stickers that my friends have used, themed writing paper. This is the family writing paper, so there's a little boy and a little girl. And then I have, sorry, my connection is yelling at me tonight when I go over there. Okay. Sorry. Trying to not go all the way over there because it's yelling at me about my connection. So, sorry, I was reading a comment. So I have an uppercase word alphabet chart, I have an uppercase, lowercase, and then I have one with sounds. And those are from, the alphabet cards are from my journal pack. If you want those, and I just plop those in, and that way they can use them, or we can use them as we need for their writing, or just for small groups and things like that. So my writing center, I'm always changing out the little buckets. You can put in glitter crayons, you can put in colored pencils, you can put in dot markers, you can put in different themed stickers, different themed word cards, different themed paper. So, and when I do change a theme, I'll change out the paper and the word cards, and maybe I'll put out some new stickers. I'm always changing out the buckets. They sometimes, different years like different things, so sometimes I'll put out maybe smelling markers. So I have envelopes right now. Maybe I'll put out some little small, those notepads from the dollar store they love to write lists on. Those are really fun. The paper holder is just from Office Max. So yeah, somebody asked about the paper holder. So yeah, so I always have kiddos. I'm gonna flip it around. I know some people say they never have kids at their, my writing table is full all the time, because I think it's because I'm switching out the materials and I figure out what my kids like and I put that in the center and I make it meaningful for them. That way they want to go there. So if you have kiddos that aren't going to the writing table, think about what they like. What are they using in art? Could you bring that to the library table? If they love letter stamps, put letter stamps at the table. So yeah, so just think about what they love and try and add that to your writing center. I'm gonna flip it around and keep showing you stuff. So this is my kind of retelling / magnet board. Right now I have a Brown Bear story, and I have the character cards. And my total cheat to make cheap story cards is to copy characters from the book. So I just copied those pages, and I the middle of the book. Sometimes I do that too. But that way I have cheap, easy story classroom. And when kiddos are retelling, reread a story, the better their reading comprehension is. They're building fluency, they're adding they're building that vocabulary. All kinds of great things come from retelling stories. So make sure you have a retelling out at all times in your library center. And you can always buy the fancy ones, like the felt ones. or you can buy the ones from like Lakeshore, or you can even use just clip art from like Google Images to make this. So this is my my library shelf. So the top of my shelf, since it's the first day of school, I actually so this is what it will look like on week 3 in my classroom, because right now the top of my library shelf, since it's just the first week, it's actually empty, just because we're learning about the stuff on the bottom first. But once the kiddos get to know everything, and the shelf is from IKEA, somebody was asking, I put out all of my themed printables. So the third week of school, we'll be using my themed school math and literacy pack. So like here is a school syllable game. They say the syllable, and then they say the word scissors, and then they would just build the word. Here's one I already put together. So scissors would have 2 cubes because it's 2 syllables. So I like my games to be hands-on. This one is just another one from my school themed centers pack, and all these are my TPC store, and they're just building the letter with mini erasers. You can also use gems to build letters. And then I have my writing trays out, and everybody will ask where the trays are from. So these are just wood trays. They're actually from lacing sets. Melissa and Doug lacing sets, or sometimes the Target Dollar Spot has them. But if you don't have these wooden ones, you can always use like a pencil box. You can use any small wood tray or a plastic tray. Those kid divider plates work really well. So what they do is they shake the sensory or the tray, and my rule is when I introduce it, that the tray is glued to the table. That way when they're shaking it, the sand doesn't go everywhere. And then they make the letter, and they can make it that way. It depends on if the kids like the texture, if they don't. And then when they're using the pom-pom, it's also great fine motor. So yeah, so any letter cards you have, you can put in there, whether they're themed or they're like flashcards. They're really fun. Excuse me. And then this is actually from my school center's literacy pack too, and it's actually a matching game normally. So it's just like you match the uppercase with the lower. You can do uppercase with uppercase or uppercase with lowercase. And I just took part of the game and I just put it in my writing tray. So yeah, and in the writing trays, you don't have to use sand. This one's actually colored sand, and this one is actually dyed salt. I just took some salt, put some liquid watercolor in it, and it dyed it, and then just lay it out to dry. You can also use rice in there. That's really fun too. And yes, they do spill, but it's not a huge deal because you can see there's not that much in the tray. So if they spill, it's not a huge deal. And they will spill sometimes, but not that much. And then I have just some fun hands-on letter games. Like these are letter locks. And one thing I always tell teachers, especially if you're having a 3s class or maybe you have a pre-K class, don't feel like you have to put the whole letter set in the box. You can only, because that would be really overwhelming. Like for the letter robots, I have out all the letters because they're not reading the little robot. Here's the head that pops up, I think. So these like little letter robots. But yeah, so I just put out maybe, what is that, like 10, 11 of the letter locks, and that way they'll be more successful matching. Cheated on the letter locks. So it only had matches to the uppercase or the sound, and I just wrote the uppercase letter on the back with permanent marker. That way my 3-year-olds could be successful and do it too. And then these are just some letter cookies, and I just got some trays from the dollar store. These are just from Amazon or a teacher store. They're really fun. Those are fun. And then I just have some letter beads from Amazon, and then puzzles, and like there's like alphabet floor puzzles. I have a memory game, and I only have, again, some of the game out, not all the cards, so it's not overwhelming. So visual discrimination game. This is floor puzzle I got from, I think, Scholastic. Fine motor things in the library center. So these are just like some pegs that I got from my teacher's store. Those are great for fine motor. And then these are just some gears. And it gets some, and when you put out fine motor things, it's great for their fine motor 1. And 2 is sometimes it'll get some of the kiddos who don't always like to write and draw and sit in color over in the library center. So it helps them to get to the library center too, because maybe if they're playing with the pegs, and maybe they'll play with the letter beads. Maybe they wouldn't have if there weren't like a gear or a peg in there or something. So think about what fine motor things your kiddos like and try putting that in the library center. And that way it gets some of those reluctant kiddos to the library center. And maybe they'll see something else they think is fun. And these are just letter brick blocks from Lakeshore. And Discount School Supply has them too, I think. And then I have these dry erase pockets. And we actually don't have these out yet. I set up my center like it would be on the 3rd week of school. So these are just dry erase pockets from Amazon. And then these are name mats. And all they do is take a dry erase marker and they trace their name or their friend's name. And kiddos love dry erase markers. I don't know what it is about dry erase markers, but kiddos love them. And these are used all the time in my room. Like, I bet they're out at least twice a week, and we only meet 3 days a week. So, and these are free in my TPT store, the name mats. And then I also have my letter stew out, which I'm thinking I'm introducing it the 3rd week. And I just put some magnets on the back of some wooden spoons, and all they do is they pick a letter, and they pick the letter off their cookie pan, and it sticks, and then they can just put it in their pot and mix it up. And so they're making letter stew. And this is in my TPT store, and there's also like a name stew and a sight word stew for if you want to do it a little bit different. And there are lowercase charts, there's sound charts too, so you can differentiate for all your learners. And I did finally find some magnets that have a whole that fit on a 1-page chart. Somebody's asking, how often do I change out my shelves? So the stuff on the bottom, the bottom 2 rows, I change out the puzzles kind of based on our theme. And the other stuff I kind of change out I change it out more when I notice they're not playing with it. So if I notice maybe no one is playing with the pegs, I'll change out the pegs and put something else out. So I'm maybe like once every 2-3 months, some of this stuff gets changed out on the bottom, but the stuff on the top gets changed out probably every 2 weeks. Like, what are some other things you can do in the library center? And I did want to mention that this summer, we did a 3-part series on how to teach letters and sounds without using letter of the week. And if you want to watch that, I really go in depth. It's basically like 3 hours long if you watch them back to back. It's the 3-part series on how to teach letters and sounds without using letter of the week, and it's up at the top. So if you go to the top of this post, there's a link to past Facebook Live videos. You can watch those up there if you want kind of a longer, more detailed about the library center and ideas for your library center. I just want to drop that in before I forgot. So some other fun letter manipulatives that I love. So you guys know me, and you guys know I love letter beads, but they can be a little frustrating. See how little the hole is? For some 3-year-olds, so I put out pipe cleaners with them. But I also love these little letter beads because they're great for building words, just like laying them flat on the table, for sorting with letters, for putting in a sensory table. So you can do so much more than just lace these. You can freeze these in water and they put them in the sensory table. But since we're talking about the library center, you can just put them out in the library center and put them on the shelf, and they can lace with them or they can sort the letters. But these are awesome, and they're tiny and they're colorful, and they're using those pincer muscles when they are picking them up and holding them or sorting or building words, whatever. So yeah, and I do have the regular strings in here too. And if you're wondering about the labels, I just posted these about a month ago in my TPT store. They are in my TPT store, and they're labels for your whole preschool classroom. All right, So another fun thing that where is it? Another fun letter thing we like to do, or mini eraser, right? Like everybody loves mini eraser. So this is just like a random mini eraser pack. I think I got at Party City. And then in the Facebook group, if you go to the Pocket of Preschool Facebook group, click on the Files tab and click on mini eraser letters, you can find, as I put it out the right way, some letter mats, and you can fill them with mini erasers. You can use candy, cereal. If you can't do food, you can, obviously mini erasers, but you can have them trace these. So any way they can like practice writing letters is a great thing for the Library Center. And one thing about the Library Center is, since they're kind of doing the same things over and over, you got to keep mixing it up and make it engaging. So like one week do writing trays, the next week make letters with mini erasers, the next week put these out, and maybe put out cereal if you can use food. Maybe put out those glass gems. Maybe use these with dry erase markers. Like maybe put out Play-Doh with these, and they can make it with Play-Doh. So the small letters are, everything is linked on Amazon. So like these little letter beads that you can't see really well. And then the stew letters are linked on Amazon. So at the top of this post, I have a link to all my favorite things on Amazon. So these are free in the Pocket of Preschool Facebook group. And then, so I'm always trying to get them to write, so my little guys, I'm trying to get them to write lots of capital letters and try maybe some lowercase. And then my pre-K kiddos, maybe you're making your name, or maybe you're kinder and you're wanting them to build sight words. So try and keep it engaging and switch out and put different things in your Library Center. Like we have the writing trays. I use those some weeks. You know what another fun thing to do is put some kinetic sand in a pencil box. Get some letter stamps. And you can find letter stamps sometimes too, like in the Target Dollar Spot or at Michael's, and they're like section. I think Melissa and Doug has some. These are off Amazon, and the link's at the top. But have them, I'll do like yo-yo. Like yo. So they can put like their sight word card up here. I have some sight word cards. So maybe like this, you're doing sight words, and these are from my construction math and literacy center set. They can put the sight word at the top, and then we'll just pretend I made the word that, so they can build letters in the sand. You can also have them like write with like a stick or something in the sand, but kinetic sand is great for making letters in a fun and different way, because let's face it, writing, what you don't see in here is what? No worksheets, right? You don't see any worksheets like lying in my center. Like, you want to have hands-on, fun, engaging stuff, because if it's fun, if it's engaging, they're going to try harder, they're going to do their best, and they're going to do the activity for a longer period of time because they're going to be engaged with the activity. Then if it's a boring worksheet and they're just going to kind of just go through it and they're not really paying attention, they're not getting anything out of it. Like, make it fun. Like, that's what preschool's all about. They can do all the boring stuff later. You know, they're gonna have to do worksheets eventually, but just hopefully not in preschool and kinder as much. So another fun thing to do is just just get a bucket and put in some dry erase boards and put in colored markers. You can use it with sight words, put out some name cards. Grab the name cards that you made with their pictures on them, and they can write their name, they can write their friend's name, they can write their sight words, they can write their sight word, and maybe then have them put out the letters, and maybe they can build it with the letter beads just on the board. After it, we're just going to pretend that this makes a letter or that makes a word. So build it, write it, and then read it. And these I just got, I think, from, these are those like ones that go on their locker. I got them after back to school near on clearance at Walmart. My kinetic sand, I think I've had this sand for like 3 years and it's so fine. So yeah, so I think kinetic sand lasts a long time. It is expensive, but I mean, it lasts, I think, forever, hopefully. My kiddos have kinetic sand that's like going on like 5 years old. So yeah, so if you keep it nice and hopefully nobody sneezes in it, you should have it for a long time. Chalkboards are also really another fun way to get kids writing and reading and doing words. And you don't, so let's say, I'm gonna move this. So put some cards on a book ring, which my book rings, I guess it's just a metal ring. And then just get a plastic tub and just put these in a plastic tub with some word cards. And now, instead of writing in sand, now you can have chalkboards out and they can write and make words with chalk. So that's really fun. And these chalkboards I made, and I have a tutorial on my blog, so I'll pop that link in a minute. But all these are trays from the dollar store. You just sand them down a little bit, and then this is just black chalkboard paint. And I just put ribbons at the top to kind of like keep them as like a little buffer. That way they don't get scratched. And I've had these, I think 5 years now. So, and they've lasted, like they're holding up really good. The paint's not chipping off or anything. Just make sure you sand them a little bit before you put the chalkboard paint on. And again, just trays from the dollar store, super simple. One thing this year that I used to do when I first started teaching, and you know how you like do something and then you like find other cool things and then you forget? Last year I remembered that I used to use, when I first started teaching, I used to use sensory bags like crazy. And so all sensory bags are, it's a thick baggie. Don't buy baggies from the dollar store. They will leak and get punctured and then it's a hot mess. These are just like those thick baggies like the name brand ones. And then I just put hair gel in, hair gel from the dollar store, and then glitter. And then I zipped it closed, got all the air out. Oh, so hair gel, liquid watercolor, a little bit, it does not take a lot. Hair gel, liquid watercolor, and glitter. And then I just put some duct tape on the top. And if you have a rough group of kiddos, maybe just do 2 baggies, kind of like put one inside of another. I did that a couple years when I had some rough classes, because you know, it just happens. One year I had 16 boys and 2 girls. Yeah. Whoa, did I run out of energy that year. They kept me on my toes. So, yeah, so just make hair gel baggies, and I know like it's so fun and relaxing just to like feel the bag, but why not, instead of doing just that, like why not like make a letter? So I just made these today. So we have a new set for this year. So I just made a whole bunch of different colors. I have like all the colors of the rainbow. If you know me, you know I love the rainbow. But you can also make like themed ones. Like I did some for Halloween last year, and I put I had like orange ones with like eyeballs, those googly eyes in it. I did some for my summer theme last year, and I had blue ones. We had bubble letters from my summer math and literacy centers pack. And they had to build their name, and then they would write their name on here, or they could just pick a letter. Like if you're, hold on, I'm gonna have a flat table. So this is my table, so they could pick a letter, and then all they do is squish it, and then they can make their letter in the hair gel bag. And that is so much more engaging than a worksheet, right? Like so much more fun. And it's relaxing, because you'll hear the class get quiet if they're making letters using like a sensory item, or it'll get a little bit loud because they get so excited. One or the other, but that's okay. So yeah, so just hair gel, and you can do names in these, you can do letters, you can do shapes, you can do like different types of lines. So have everybody make like a zigzag line, make straight lines. Yeah, so I just made one in every color. And I actually have more, that way I can use them in the morning for table time too. This one's a white one. So yeah. So again, super simple, but how engaging. Like this is gonna be a lot of fun. And they're gonna be really excited to come to school. They're gonna be really engaged with the activity, and it helps with letter formation, writing, all of that good stuff. And then if you are a kinder teacher, a fun manipulative to put in the library center, if you're using magnet letters, or maybe you're using your magnet board, maybe they have to find the letter and then find the matching sound magnets. So like these are just magnets. They're, I got them on Amazon. But that way you have hands-on sound objects as well. What do you recommend for for children who are having trouble to touch the item. So if I have a kiddo, so maybe like a kiddo doesn't want to touch it because they're a sensory friend who just is a little put off. Maybe they don't like being messy, and maybe they don't like the sand. Usually the hair gel bags are an easy way, not an easy way, but it's kind of baggies, or kind of like I call them like a force field. So that way like they can practice touching something, but look, they don't get messy. Because a lot of times they don't want to be messy. But if you could have a kiddo who maybe just doesn't like touching this because it's squishy, that's okay. Just give them a empty bag, and they can do it. And maybe they're just going to do it on an empty bag at first, and then maybe make them a hair gel bag with maybe just a little bit of sensory item in it. So it's just a little bit, and then slowly build them up over the year. That way they're slowly getting exposed and getting used to sensory slowly. So yeah. So, and if they don't like the sand trays, give them something to hold. Like maybe give them, I don't have anything right now, but maybe give them like a candle. Like, cause we do like for a birthday theme, it's really fun to like hold a candle and then use a candle kind of like a pencil in the sand. So give them, maybe they could even use a short pencil and use the eraser to make it in the sand. If that way they don't have to touch the sensory material if they don't want to. So yeah, so just kind of give them an object to kind of, so that way they don't get messy. Okay, so do I make enough bags so that all kiddos take a turn? So when I have something in my library center, I typically put out either 2 or 4 of it. So like when I put out sensory bags, I will put out 4 in the center. That way every kiddo, because I do 4 kids per center, that way all the kiddos can engage in the same activity at the same time. I do only put out 2 sand trays at a time. That way it doesn't get too crazy and the sand doesn't spill everywhere. Unless my class can handle it that year, then I will put out 4 trays. But yeah, so typically I try and put it out to where all 4 kiddos can do the same activity at the same time. That way they can engage in conversation and talk about their learning, talk about what they're doing, talk about the letters, talk about the sounds, talk about the things they notice in the text or whatever. So yeah, I try and put out 4, but these are such a hit in my classroom last year. I actually made a class set of sensory bags for this year. That way we can use them at table time in the morning, since they liked them so much last year. So yeah, but typically I just have 4 things out of 4 game boards or 4 sand trays or 4 sensory bags. So that way, or I'll put out like 4 boxes. So that way I have 4 kinetic sand boxes. That way all of them can engage in the activity at the same time and talk about what they're doing and what they're learning, because we all know that they learn so much when they engage in that conversation from each other, and it's higher level thinking when they're explaining their thoughts to another person, because then they're now verbalizing their thoughts and ideas. So some other fun things to do in the library center, like I said, I try and put some fine motor things in that aren't specifically literacy, to get maybe some of those reluctant kiddos who aren't super excited about letters into the library center. That way they can experience the library center and hopefully see something else that's engaging while they're playing with that. So pegs are great, gears are great, lacing cards are great. Like here's some little space ones. So if you have themed lacing cards, put those out. Those are great fine motor, and you can relate those to a theme. Puppets are amazing. Obviously this is way too many. I would put out less puppets. Maybe just put out 5 or 6 puppets at a time or something. But if you're doing a zoo theme, you can put out all your zoo puppets. And these finger puppets, I want to say, are from the dollar store. So finger puppets are great, or if you have regular size puppets, those are great too, because when they're using puppets, they're doing all kinds of oral language. And I think sometimes we forget that the library center is the language center, or whatever your language center is, and talking to each other is just as important as writing, because if they can't say it, they're not going to be able to write it later, right? If they can't put a sentence together, how are they supposed to put a sentence together on paper, right? So all of this all the oral language is super, super important, especially in preschool. when I taught full day, my center, you know, your classroom's different in every room. I actually had my dollhouse in the library center because it's lots of language. Like kids are talking and they're talking to each other. They're engaged in the pretend play with the dolls and things like that. So a dollhouse is great for the library center to promote that oral language. This year, just due to space, I have my dollhouse in the blocks center, but that's okay too because I feel like it gets some of those reluctant builders kind of over there. So you can put your dollhouse either in your library center or in your block center. Because they actually use the people a lot during block play too. But puppets are great. And puppets are also great for like acting out a story. So maybe you have like I think I have the 3 little pig puppets. So you have the 3 little pigs and they can act out the story with puppets. That's another great thing too for puppets is retelling those stories to build that fluency, build that sense of story, build that reading comprehension. So puppets, super fun for the library center. So if you are limited on funds, maybe you could use your Scholastic points if you have enough books for your classroom, get some like letter popsicles or something. So get some of those literacy materials using your Scholastic bonus points. So hit up Scholastic for your literacy items too, because sometimes they have fun stuff too. And Scholastic's usually pretty reasonable too, which is why I love Scholastic. And then again, put in those things that are just kind of everyday always, like your letter manipulatives, and then change it out and put out different things. Get them writing different ways, get them reading different ways, get them, making words different ways. Like it doesn't have to be boring, the same thing over and over and over. Just change it up. And you can do that by changing out based on your theme. So using themed word cards at your writing center and themed new literacy games on the top of for your center time. But yeah, and some people I know they're wondering, like, how do my kiddos know how to play this? So if I have a new game that I want to put in the library center, maybe I will put that out for a small group, and I will teach the game for small group, and then I'll put it out in my library center. Or maybe it's something that's a little bit more open-ended, and maybe it's similar to a game we've played in the past. I'll put it out for table time in the morning. That way I can make sure all the kiddos know how to play it, and then I'll put it in the library center. Or maybe I'll see, they don't really know how to play it when I put it out for table time, and I can do a small group on it, and then I can put it back out in the library center. So a listening center. A lot of people are saying that they have a listening center. I know some people are required to have a listening center. I actually don't have a listening center, but listening to books is super, super important. It's one thing I want to work on this year. As every classroom, nobody's classroom is perfect, right? So the listening center I know is one area I need to work on. I used to have one when I taught in my full day classroom, but I just haven't figured out how to make it work in my new classroom yet. So I know some people use iPads to listen to books. I know some people use the old school like headphones, and every kiddo has their own pair of headphones. And there's some really great ideas on how to store headphones if every kiddo wants to have their own. Some people use those shoe racks, and every kiddo has their own headphones and they put them in those shoe racks. Or I know my classroom, when I used to have a listening center, I would put out a book, and I would just there was like a little where the volume knob was, I had a little sticker so they knew kind of where the max was on how loud to play it, and they just listened to the book in the center. They didn't have to use the headphones. So you can also do that too. You can have a listening center where they don't have to have headphones, and you can just have them listen to reading, because listening to reading is so important. Even though I don't have it in my classroom yet, I'm working on it. But yeah, because it builds fluency and vocabulary, and it just helps them learn that text and develop that sense of story. Because when you listen to books, they're very fluent, and there's a nice little rhythm. Like when we read books at Circle, everybody's interrupting and we're talking and we're asking questions. Like, they just get to listen to the whole book without interruptions, which is sometimes that's really, really nice, right? It's just sitting and listening and enjoying books, and that's a very important part of the library center too. I do sometimes, if you don't maybe have a listening center in your library yet, or maybe that's something you're working on, or you're doing one of those fun pages to kind of get it going in your classroom, what you can do is do it during circle time. So sometimes instead of me reading, I will play the CD or the YouTube audio or audiobook during circle, and that way they can listen to reading during circle time, and instead of me reading, I'm just turning the pages, and they're listening to somebody else read. So that's another fun alternative for you too. Instead of, I know some teachers do chapter books before rest time. Some teachers do like a read on your cot before rest time, and that would be a great time to do listen to reading before rest time. Do I do a book buddy or read with your buddy? Stacy said if you have 4 kids listening with the headphones, it also makes the classroom much quieter because now those 4 kiddos are quiet, right? Hopefully. Anyway, so that way they can actually hear what's going on with the book. So yeah, that's another great alternative too, another great way to use headphones. So I have kind of book buddies kind of built in throughout my day. After they finish snack, they don't have to sit at the table. They actually get to come to the library center and just read books. Like, that's all they do after snack. They will throw their snack away, and then they get to read books with a friend or alone on the carpet. They can lounge, they can sit in a chair, they can kind of, be comfy and just enjoy books. They can get out book buddies at that time. My little stuffed animals, they can read to the stuffed animals at that time. So yeah, it's a kind of extra little book buddy time and read to peers during my day. So like I said, if you guys want a very, very in-depth talk about literacy and how to teach letters without teaching letter of the week, which I don't do letter of the week, I just embed it throughout the day. Go to the top of this post and you can watch the 3-part series on how to teach letters without using letter of the week, and there are freebies included, lots of them for you too. And there's even a handout with tons and tons and tons of ideas for you too. So you guys have a fabulous night. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon. If you want to keep chatting, hop over to the Pocket of Preschool Facebook group, and we will talk more there. See you soon. Bye.